peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
It is ridiculous and it is against the laws of nature that we can have somebody sitting pretty who takes home more money than the credible entrepreneur who is doing actual production of goods and services.
We always say it as it is. It is only in this country that when a thief is arrested, you hear elders from their tribe saying, "He is our son and he is our thief."
If you are deviant
Yes.
and I call you leader,
Yes.
probably you are already a leader, but you are leading in the wrong direction.
We want to see the role of the youth
Yeah.
in the security,
Yes.
governance,
Yes.
and development.
The youth that I meet and work with here, you know, we call them the millennials and X's and Y's, this and that. They don't necessarily want to live like their fathers and grandfathers,
Yes.
do business like their fathers and grandfathers. They're more independent, they're better educated, and they're the ones that are making everything move in this.
We look at the issues, we talk about issues that impact people's lives in Africa. The African peoples themselves continue to cheer bad leaders, and because they cheer them on, they continue to be misled.
Would you rather be somebody who does not enjoy so much freedom but you are rich?
Yes.
Or you'd rather be poor who you are actually imprisoned by the poverty itself?
My goal is not to majority ownership. I want to own this. I want to own that. I want to do this. My goal is we all make money and we're all happy, and I help build a big business here.
Punchline is for Africa, with Africa, from Africa.
First of all, let me thank you. I've prepared 2 papers which I believe will be circulated because they'll not be projected. But if you can see, first of all, I want to agree with the Honorable Minister. I've done 2 pictorials. One of them is described as Africa at the dinner table. And if you look at Africa at the dinner table, Africa is on a plate and it is meat. And the diners at the dinner table are France, the United Kingdom, the United States, the European Union, the Chinese, and progressively the Arabs. And my second picture is the African hotspots. It's not visible from there. But if you look at Africa today and you make a clean sweep with your mind, there are different conflicts of different intensity in Somalia, in northern Mauritania, in northern Mali, in Central African Republic, Democratic Republic of Congo, Guinea-Bissau, in the Cameroons, in South Sudan, and one can go on and on. And there is a sense in which Africa has always been alive to the question of interference. I will refer this audience, particularly those who are starting, to take time and read the 32 odd speeches that were made in the month of May 1963 by the then heads of states and government of independent African states, the 32 of them. And there are 2 speeches that I want to isolate for this presentation. One was by David Dacko of Central African Republic. And in thanking Emperor Haile Selassie and Kwame Nkrumah on that day, he said that we must never forget that the colonial power has not left us. We must recognize that he did not go willingly. And if we don't check them, they'll come back again. And what would little Central African Republic do against them? Today, he is right. Today, if we remember the activities of France and how they have propped up the regime of Jean Bedel-Bokassa, he was right. Today, as the Honorable Minister has indicated, Africa remains the only continent in the world that is referred to in these terms, Anglophone, to mean that we are a sphere of our erstwhile colonizers. About 2 weeks ago, there was a meeting of the Commonwealth in London, England, and a friend of mine who is an Anglophile sent me the photograph very gleefully, saying this is a meeting of 53 equal states. I told him, no. If it was so, why is it that the leadership of the Commonwealth is hereditary rather than rotational? In other words, in the minds of the British, her former colonies are still under her tutelage. And I want to submit to us that in the minds of what I'll call the conceptual West, they think they have a divine duty to instruct Africans what to do.
True.
And in the minds of many African leaders, they think that they have a divine duty to accept what they are told. That, in my view, is what the Honorable Minister was talking about, the mindset. And this is something that has been examined. We have seen France and its very pernicious presence in Africa. We know what they did in Burkina Faso against Thomas Sankara. We know what they did in Mali or the Sudan against Modibo Keita or against Sekou Touré in Guinea. Pernicious to the core. The Portuguese, we know what battles had to be fought in that area. And let me put this very bluntly. When the former leader of Portugal, Marcelo Caetano, was asked, why can you not allow the colonies to gain independence? This is what he said in substance. As I have examined world history over the years, the following have emerged. That the Caucasians have been responsible for monumental discoveries in the development of man. So have the Chinese, so have the Arabs. But the Africans have been responsible for nothing. They are only fit as hewers of wood and drawers of water. And I want to submit to you who are present here that in the conceptual West's unguarded moments, that is what they think. And that is how they relate to Africa. So the whole idea that they will interfere is something that they think is their God-given duty. I said there were two speeches in 1963 that I wanted to refer to. I referred to David Dako. The second one was the speech by Kwame Nkrumah. And Kwame provided the solution. He did not complain about colonialism. He said, we must live here with one army, with one command. We must live here with one currency. We must live here with one currency, one country. I do not know where its capital will be, but I suggest Leopoldville or Bangui. Other leaders may have their thoughts. Kwame was right, but who listened to him? Several years down the line, and I've said it in my paper, there were coup d'etats which were engineered, there were mutinies which were engineered, and other forms of destabilization. And I want to believe that the person who actually said it very well in the 1980s was the former American President Ronald Reagan. He said, the United States of America does what is in her best interest. And I agree with him. Does Africa do what is in her best interest? Do African leaders do what is in the best interest of Africa? Interference will be there in very blatant and brazen ways and in subtle ways. I've always asked, until very recently, how many African countries manufactured bullets? Very few. Until very recently, how many African countries, in fact, how many African countries manufacture jet fighters? How many African countries are involved in the arms industry? Some of the leading conceptual West countries which pontificate to us about prizes, peace prizes, are the leading manufacturers of landmines. And if you look at their foreign exchange earners, it is the military and security items. So they say with their mouths what do they not believe in their hearts. In Kiswahili we say, vita vya panzi furaha ya kunguru. That when the locusts are fighting, it is the joy of the hawk. Because when they kill each other, they get the food easily, dead. It is in the best interest, I dare submit, without fear of contradiction, that the elite in the conceptual West does not want Africa to stabilize, despite their assertion to the contrary. And you'll see it in every country because conflict is a major industry. Today, you look at South Sudan and the many peace conferences that are being held, but if you ask who supplies the arms, who provides safe havens, it is the conceptual West. And when I use the term conceptual West, I'm saying that it extends to countries which are geographically not in the West, like Australia or Canada. So I'm submitting in answer to your question, Joe, that interference is there, and it is part, to use this old cliche, of the neo-colonial project. The neo-colonial project requires that Africa must remain within the sphere of influence of these states. Today, if you look at the United Kingdom, which has left Europe, one would have thought that those are their cousins and that they should sit in comfort with them. You will now see their involvement being de-emphasized in Europe and their interest and appetite growing towards the Commonwealth. Because in the Commonwealth, they are the major domos. They'll tell us what to do. In Europe, they have to grapple with the Germans and the French, and they don't like it. That is the unspoken bit of it. The French also are in Europe, but the Germans are too strong, and they don't like it. So they want to hold Côte d'Ivoire, Gabon, and tell them what to do. I do not know how many of you saw the press conference that was attended by President Macron of France and Nana Addo of Ghana. And when Nana Addo spoke as an African should, you could see the body language of the French president. How dare this man speak this way? In other words, I'm saying that interference is the mother's milk of European economies. But to answer your second question, they have their own recruits who Professor Philip Nying'ura will be speaking here. To use the old vocabulary of those days, they have the people you call their compra de bourgeoisie. You must remember.
Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Punchline Africa TV, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi, the Republic of Kenya. Viewers, wherever you are, thank you very much for watching us, and thank you for your patronage. This morning, we have a straightforward message. We are going to discuss, to deal with issues that affect Kenya first. Then we go with issues that are affecting the entire world. Is there globalization? Has it neutralized nationalism? Are we forgetting our national roles and we have gone to global contest? A global contest has, erased the national spirit. People don't think about the nations first. There's no patriotism. People come from very far across the oceans and they tell us that I want gold measured to 400 metric tons. You go around the tropics of Africa, the hills, the mountains, the valleys, looking for imaginary gold, and then you kill your own country. You make others suffer. That is the basis of the second part of our show. The first part of our show is the judiciary, and we shall never keep quiet. Never shall we be silenced. Neither shall we, as people, forget that the courts in Kenya have a role to play in making sure that this country is rid of corruption. But we still have courts selling documents that take our children, so many things. So let's see. Thank you very much, viewers. Thank you very much for all what you have done. And you have kept us. Last week was a hectic week with fake gold, fake the sheikhs from the desert. They have come angry, but we are dealing with them diplomatically. Therefore, we would like to ask that the howling of insults from all sides. Some people are not even affected, but they have howled insults, and they are saying quite a lot of things. These type of insults are not very good at all. They create a lot of difficulties for people. Are you taking us back? Are you taking us back to 2007? I've written a piece today on defense. If you can read it and see, the journey that we began in 2007 is similar to this journey now, where we ended up exploding after elections. The same actors, same players are in it. Ruto, Raila, and the rest, they're all the same. The players, an MP from Nakuru this morning has daringly said he has written to the ICC, that he has written to the ICC accusing Maina Commander, Nancy Gitau, and the rest. You see, I told these people, healing is more important. Looking at what the past is, the present, look at where the journey is ending, not where you came from. The more you look from where you came from, the more you repeat the same mistakes. So I would advise people to read that, and my production team will bring it on board so that you go on my wall all the time. My blog is clear. The same players, the same insults. If you can look at what the Deputy President was talking about in Bungoma, it also gives Raila's people to stand up and say, hello, excuse me, why are you howling insults at our chairperson, our leader of the party? So if we go on exchanging these type of things, it means we have not healed. It means we have not forgiven each other. It means, and then you add on an MP, Mr. Kimani Ngunjiri of Bahati, coming out in Nakuru saying he has now written to the ICC to start investigating some people. Have you seen this? I told you. And I've been telling people, let's finish this ICC issue, close this envelope. You see, they are going back to the same thing. There you are. With me in the studio this morning. Myself, plus the German lady. Good Tag.
Guten Morgen.
Good morning.
Guten Tag is good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You're
Good,
doing very
good
well.
morning. Yes, but I'm learning. You learn by mistakes.
Yes, indeed.
Good morning, Africa, wherever you are, in Cape Town, in Cairo. We have Miriam Ogutu with us in the studio, my co-presenter, co-interrogator, and the company.
Pan-Africanist.
Yes, co-Pan-Africanist.
Yes.
I don't know where the word co will end.
And
until Qatar.
Yesterday you added me another title.
Yes.
I'm a running mate, is it?
Yes, co-running mate.
I don't know where. We are running to where?
We are running mates.
Maybe to Qatar.
To Qatar to win for the cup.
For the World Cup.
You know, United Arab Emirates are fighting so hard to make sure that Qatar does not host.
But it has the hosting rights.
Yeah, but cheap rivalry.
Yes.
You know, and if someone cannot allow your neighbor's plane to fly over your country, then we have very wrong people take it over from there. And first of all, let's have the good African news. Break it down. Then we come to Kenya. Let's be 15. Let's time ourselves. Another 10 minutes, we are finished with African news. The next 10 minutes, we still have, let's make it. Okay. Can we?
Yes, we can.
Then ask any questions. I'm watching.
All right.
I'm standing by.
You're standing by.
As I take my tea, Miriam, take it over. Thank you very much in Berlin. Wherever you are in Berlin, the studios, wherever you are in Harare. Reports coming from Harare before you go.
Yes.
I told you.
What is happening in Harare this morning?
Regime change. They have now finalized. They are coming. They want to come. They want to start.
In Harare.
Hear me. I always tell you.
I think I read such information, and I think I have it on the news this morning. So you talk about
very serious sources indicating Mr. Bonyongwe, Mr. Chihuri, Mr. Gono have been fingered in rigging elections in Malawi. I don't know how this true is the former Central Intelligence Organization Director Upton Bonyongwe and the former Chief Augustine Chihuri have been fingered. Malawi sources exclusively told Huruma Africa that the ruling Democratic Party, this is that has been told, Malawi will elect president on 21st, closely contested this, that seen mentor and a mentee battle it out as the Vice President Saulos Chilima is going against Mutharika. Kuruma Africa has been told that Chihuri and Bonyonge, who fell out of Mnangagwa's favor soon after intervention as they were known from Mugabe, were approached in 2018 by members of Mutharika's regime to help up bringing elections in Harare. You see, a regime change exercise in Malawi is said to have cost $10 million US. And they got it. Mines and the Mining Development Ministry former Secretary Francis Kudiana, who is accused of siphoning 1.6 from Minerals Marketing Board, facilitated the payment through paid stock investment documents show. What? There, these things are coming now. And this is a lot of money that has been. The operation is also financed by Gideon Gono, former RBZ governor with massive links to CIA, and Jonathan Moyo, a politician who served in the government of Zimbabwe, High Commissioner 2015, was previously Minister of Information. Upton Habuyo Bunyongwe is a retired Army General who briefly served as a Minister of Justice. And these are the same people I've been telling you every day. So the election is in Malawi.
It's tomorrow.
There is already chaos.
Yeah.
A group in Zimbabwe has been rigging it, using computers stationed somewhere near the border.
Are those parallel tallying centers? Or?
I told you, Africa parallel tallying center. Yes. Regime change. For Bonyonge to have this equipment, he must be linked to France. I close my chapter.
All right. Good morning to you, wherever you're watching us from. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Good Morning Africa, coming to you all the way from the Kenya's capital in Nairobi, in conjunction with South Cameroon Broadcasting Corporation, with the satellites all the way in Berlin, Germany. So thank you so much for watching us. And this is the latest from Africa this morning, and we start with South Africa, where South Africa's former President Jacob Zuma and representatives of French arms company Thales are due to appear in court in an attempt to have all corruption charges against them dismissed. The allegations center on a $2.5 billion US dollars deal to modernize South Africa's defense forces in the late 1990s, in which Mr. Zuma is accused of accepting bribes from Thales. And we go to Zimbabwe, where Zimbabwean authorities have tried to allay fears that antiretroviral drugs are being dispensed by public health facilities 6 months after the expiry were harmful to users, a state-linked newspaper, The Herald, has reported. This is after people living with HIV and AIDS came forward to say that a consignment of the drugs, which initially expired in June 2018 and whose shelf life was extended by 6 months, was having negative effects on them, says the paper. And in Sudan, Saudi Arabia says it has deposited $250 million US dollars in Sudan's central bank as part of a support package for the country, which is in the midst of an economic and political crisis. The gift, plus a similar recent deposit from the United Arab Emirates, will help alleviate some of Sudan's economic problems. And still in Sudan, renewed talks have taken place between Sudan's ruling Transitional Military Council and the opposition protest movement on the composition of a proposed sovereign authority at a late-night news conference after 7 hours of talks. The council spokesman, General Shamsuddin Kabashi, said the two sides also discussed the terms for a 3-year transition period. And in Egypt, at least 17 people have been killed in an explosion targeted at a tourist bus in Egypt on Sunday. The incident occurred near the Grand Egyptian Museum next to the pyramids of Giza. And in Ivory Coast, French Interior Minister Christophe Castaner arrived in Abidjan on Sunday to discuss cooperation between France and Côte d'Ivoire, mainly on terrorism and immigration, accompanied by the Ivorian Ministers of Defense Hamad Bakayoko and Interior Sidiki Diakite, with whom working meetings were scheduled today. Castaner also expressed the willingness of France and Côte d'Ivoire to combat smuggling activities with migrants and weapons. We go to Malawi, where Malawi's opposition candidates made a last-ditch bid on Saturday. Candidates gear for this tomorrow's hotly contested election wrapped up their campaigns at rival rallies across the country. Analysts expect a very tight race tomorrow between President Peter Mutharika and two leading opposition candidates, Lazarus Chakwera, who heads the second-largest party in parliament, and Deputy President Saulos Chilima. And on Sudan and also South Sudan, and its neighbor South Sudan took contrasting stands last week during a United Nations Security Council debate on the UN peacekeeping force in the disputed and volatile Abyei region that straddles the two countries. But with neither Sudan nor South Sudan having a vote on the matter, the 15-member council unanimously approved a resolution to reduce the number of blue helmets in Abyei while increasing the size of a United Nations police contingent there. Move to Rwanda, whereas relations between Rwanda and Uganda remain frosty. Rwanda is looking west for trade towards the Democratic Republic of Congo. And last week, Rwandan President Paul Kagame gave contrasting messages to people living in border communities. In a speech to residents of Rubavu district bordering the DRC, he encouraged them to trade more with communities across the border and seek trade partnerships. And in Eritrea, social media services have been blocked in the country, with people now sending messages via VPN. The reason for the shutdown is unclear, but speculation is that the government has blocked social media sites to prevent people from using them to organize protests that could disrupt Independence Day celebrations on May 24th. And in Somalia, a raging drought in Somalia could leave some 2.2 million people dead and nearly 18% of the country's population in severe hunger during the July-September period, a global agency FAO has warned. And in Ambazonia, the governor of the Northwest region, Adolphe Lele has created a commission to evaluate properties destroyed in Macnon, Bemenda 2 subdivision by soldiers on Wednesday, May 15th. A release signed by the governor says the commission is charged with evaluating the humanitarian situation, identifying victims and their needs, ascertain material damage and properties destroyed in the Moatsu, Matsan and Alachu neighborhoods. And some news from Biafra, where Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has declared that anyone who refuses to sit at home on May 30th deserves to be stoned to death. Nnamdi Kanu expressed his grievances that the Nigerian government passed a bill recognizing June 12th as a Democratic Day in honor of MKO Abiola, but turned against the remembrance of millions of Igbo killed during the war. According to him, Biafrans are going to sit at home on 30th May to remember and honor over 3.5 million Biafrans killed by Britain through Nigeria. And finally, we end with Zimbabwe, where ZANU-PF Secretary for Youth Affairs, Pupurai Tagarepi, has fired salvo at the United States of America government for allegedly funding opposition party members and civic society activities to unleash a wave of illegal protests to cause civil unrest in June. Togarepi's statement comes at a time when the state-controlled Herald newspaper reported that some civil society activists working together with MDC are undergoing training in civil disobedience so that they can come back and unleash a fresh wave of violent protests worse than the ones that were experienced in early this year, that is in January. And that is the latest from across Africa. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Good Morning Africa. Indeed, good morning.
Good morning, Africa. Thank you very much, viewers, for watching. Let's take a break of 1 minute and then we come back and see. And any questions you want to ask me?
Yes.
On anything, elections, report, Libya,
yes.
Whatever you want to ask.
So we take a break and then we come back.
Yes, you want to start now? Let's organize ourselves.
Yes.
Good morning.
All right, good morning.
Yes.
So we see you on the other side of the break. Don't go too far.
Our ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, laid out a clear agenda for reform, but despite reported and repeated warnings, no action at all was taken. So the United States took the only responsible course. We withdrew from the Human Rights Council, and we will not return until real reform is enacted. For similar reasons, the United States will provide no support in recognition to the International Criminal Court. As far as America is concerned, the ICC has no jurisdiction, no legitimacy, and no authority. The ICC claims near universal jurisdiction over the citizens of every country, violating all principles of justice, fairness, and due process. We will never surrender America's sovereignty to an unelected, unaccountable global bureaucracy.
Trump's decision to come out of ICC, which is International Criminal Court, sends a lot of signals and a lot of happiness to some of us. From time of the inception of ICC, David Matanga and others, I want to thank David Hoyle, my professor, Professor Hoyde in London, thank you very much for mentoring me to stand firm to discuss the African question on the ICC. It is very important, therefore, for the people of Africa to understand that while you rejoice, while you want to hate Trump, Trump has made it very clear that globalization is not part of his agenda.
America is governed by Americans. We reject the ideology of globalism, and we embrace the doctrine of patriotism. Around the world, responsible nations must defend against threats to sovereignty, not just from global governments, but also from other new forms of coercion and domination. In America, we believe strongly in energy security for ourselves and for our allies.
Today, as we speak, this nation cannot be the same. This nation is paralyzed. This nation needs serious redemption, needs the building of bridges. As a result of the ICC, the anger that was flowing from one end to the other created a problem that we see here, but people don't want to admit. People wait in Africa. Trump is correct. Let's wake up. Let's have a rebirth that delivers to hope so that our people don't perish in the Mediterranean Sea. A rebirth that will bring about peaceful resolution of conflicts, like the conflicts that occur in South Sudan between Riek Machar and Salva Kiir. These conflicts don't give us any hope. These conflicts don't give us anything that is yearned for. These conflicts are a pity to Africa. We are lulled into the ICC in 1998 by Kofi Annan. America rejected ICC, stood firm and said, we can give you the money, but we shall not ratify for you because we have institutions. We have failed our own judiciary systems, but we want to be judged by another judiciary system which has no jury, it has no evidence, it has no separation of powers between the chief prosecutor and the investigative arm, and then with the prosecuting arm. That's the Africa we have.
We call for a non-violent revolution. We call for a non-violent protest. We call for a non-violent march. This is what we are demonstrating to the world, and we have resisted Mr. Biya's army of occupation in our land, but this is a moment that we must continue to stand firm.
Of this nation.
Along with many other Cameroonians, many of you, as far back as the early 90s, and more frequently lately, I have insisted upon the imperative nature of genuine dialogue. Unfortunately, the government's solution has been cosmetic reforms and repression. Teachers, lawyers who raised legitimate concerns were either arrested or forced into exile. Doctors important people in our society who asked for genuine dialogue were met with punitive transfers and humiliation. It is regrettable that the government hasn't learned from the past.
We are ambassadors. We don't need anything again. The only solution to the matter is let the government solve this problem by giving our independent freedom.
We have a territory of our own. We recognize.
Welcome back, viewers. Thank you very much for watching Punchline Africa TV, all the way from Nairobi, the Republic of Kenya, together with our sister station, Pan-African station in Berlin, through the satellite Nilesat. All over the whole world was watching us. Thank you very much. Good morning from Africa, and hope wherever you are in afternoon. Some parts of the world are afternoon, some parts are morning, some are sleeping. For us who have woken, we are now 6 hours away from dawn, and we are here on business. First, Miriam has done the African news. Thank you very much. Any questions you want to ask?
So, yeah, just the question you raised earlier before I started the African news about Zimbabwe.
Yes.
And I think even one of our viewers here is asking, do you foresee a regime change in Zimbabwe? So the ZANU-PF Secretary for the Youth Affairs has come out and said, indeed, there seems to be a regime change, and it's like the opposition and some members are being trained for a civil disobedience that is supposed to take place in June. So their preparation for a regime change in an
It's not in
Zimbabwe.
It is after the Congress. There will be a regime change. I have been, warning Zimbabweans and telling them the truth that there will be a regime change. If they don't listen, I am sorry, I've done my bit. But I've told them there's a regime change, well funded, well organized, well equipped, well supplied logistically by the West. George Soros, Jeffrey Smith, Dr. Kofi Annan Foundation, Dr. Busia, Nana Busia. These are people, the DSGE, they are out for a regime change. They want to pacify ZANU-PF from the surface. So it is up to the people of Zimbabwe. It's not my problem. I've done it. Just as I told Khartoum, there was a regime change coming. Just as I told Kenya. Just as I told Uganda, there is a regime change. You like it, you don't like it, it's not my problem. Mine is to put information across, and I've told them, because I hate these external forces, the darker forces that dismember Africa. We must alert the people. The people of Zimbabwe have left. They have not pruned their army, they have not pruned their police, they have not pruned their CIO intelligence system. Some people are leaking information. They're working with G40. Jonathan Moyo is in Kenya and is and some other parts, flying between Nairobi and South Africa, inciting younger people to go and destroy Zimbabwe. I've told them, it's not my job to go on saying these things all the time. Time comes when I am tired. Shakespeare said, play your life, take off the stage.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other question?
But still, just still on that before we move to the next one, it seems to be the West, they more have a problem, not exactly with the Mnangagwa, but with ZANU-PF, and for the first time here, they put a sanction over a party.
I told you,
more the ZANU-PF, they have a problem.
Americans want to pacify any revolutionary party in Africa. So if you have a revolutionary party in your country, prepare for a regime change. Period. CCM, Frelimo, NPLA, ANC, ZANU-PF, NRM, or President Museveni is a revolutionary party. They don't want it. So if Museveni doesn't hear, it's his problem. I'm not his boss. I don't work for him. So I've told you, I tell the facts. It's up to each country intelligence to sort out their mess. My role as an African is to expose. And I've told you they are looking for these people. They are looking for revolutionary parties. Any party that actually opposes imperialism, it will go down. The country will be in that South Africa. You have seen the reduced majority of ANC in the parliament. They are eating it intellectually through Malema and this DA man. All of them both are blacks. The black man in DA is being used to mutilate another black guy in ANC.
He's a trophy, really.
You see, it's just a trophy.
Yes.
Call it a trophy.
DA is a white.
Call it again.
Yes.
It's just, he's used. He doesn't have capital. He doesn't have his own words. In Zimbabwe, they are just using Chamisa. They just want Chamisa to, as a vehicle to overthrow Mnangagwa. They want to press for a regime change, a narrowed regime change.
So,
so that they take over the proceeds of gold, diamonds, and other things. They don't want them to be traded by Chinese. Let's be, you know, the world needs people now who are point blank.
Yes.
We don't need to beat about the bush like you people in Kenya are beating about the bush. Oh, this, oh, diamonds or gold. No. This man, as we come to that Kenya, you'll see. It's plain clear. The man has sent investigative agents here. They are here. Go to the hotels. You'll find them asking, who is Wetangula? Who is this? Where does he sleep? How many wives has he got? How many children? They are doing investigation in our country.
He's in Hong Kong right now.
Yes.
Senator
they are waiting.
They're waiting for him.
So we are trying to alert the people to be careful. We are our mission is that. Don't arrest us. Don't arrest the messenger. You go to these hotels, Radisson Blue, you will find these men from United Arab Emirates. They are there. Someone has conned their money. So whom do you blame? Africa is like that. Look, in Zimbabwe, the people who want to overthrow Mnangagwa are in his own office. They work with the CIO. So should I go and force Mnangagwa to look for them? Do I work for Mnangagwa? No. I have helped him as a Pan-African. But I'm not going to be helping all the time and the people don't help themselves. I'm not looking for payment. I'm talking facts as an African.
All right. South Sudan has just received $250 million US from the Saudi Arabia in its central bank.
Let it be known that Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, they have become new colonizers of Africa. They have become new colonialists. Saudi Arabia has forced a regime change in Khartoum together with France. What are their benefits? Why didn't they give this money when Bashir was in power? Why? They are giving the money in order to retain the generals because Janjaweed is fighting in Yemen.
And UAE also
yes,
some money.
UAE is also a problem. I am only being cautious because I don't want to finish Kenya.
The guy is in town.
Yes, no, yes. I don't want to tell a problem and cause a problem for President Uhuru Kenyatta and the UAE. But as a Pan-African, I'm not happy with United Arab Emirates. The way they are funding regime change in Libya, they are the people giving General Khalifa Haftar got everything to go up to Tripoli to kill more people. People are dying in Tripoli.
Egypt and France.
Yes.
It has been confirmed.
I'm not bothered.
But now the Saudi Arabia, they've given the army the money.
In order to keep Janjaweed. That is this. You see, do you know where the 3/4 of Janjaweed?
UAE gave the civilians the money.
Yes. Look here. Janjaweed is in Yemen. So tell me, what are they doing in Yemen? There are mercenary money, army that has been bought in Yemen, taken by the Saudi Arabians to fight a war in Yemen against the Houthi rebels. Now tell me, if you are any analyst in the world, what is this game plan? The civilians are given money, the generals are also given money. Is that not bloodshed? In Somalia, United Arab Emirates went there and they were told, given 24 hours to leave. Why?
With the Somali government?
Yes. Pack and leave. Why? The same problem.
Are they the main sponsors? Of
yes. Look at that. They were told, just pack and leave. So some of these Arab countries we are watching also. Africa needs to stand up. You can be rich, but you are not going to intimidate us. In fact, it is good that it is unfortunate, or it is fortunate that this gold scam has touched the people I have hated for years. A man like Wetangula, who has been a thief since 1985, when I knew him, he has never changed his behavior. His behavior is the same. You know, he has made Simiyu to be in exile permanently.
He's been consistent.
You know? He has done so many damage in his own house. His village people have run away. So the man has no record. I can't defend him. But if I were the one defending Wetangula, I'm a public relations man. I'm Max Clifford. I was taught by Max Clifford when I went to London. I did not sit. I did not sweep the streets. I started studying. I was taught by Max Clifford how to make Wetangula become a hero over this sheikh. I can.
So how would you do that?
Oh, I can't tell you my tactics and they use them.
It's not beyond redemption at this point.
No, it is not.
With the track record.
All of them were doing illegal things.
Well,
we can arrest them on international law. My friend, you joke with me. I can go on the petition. You are selling gold in illicit trade. That's an illicit trade. Wetangula is everybody does not like Wetangula. That's the problem. Because Wetangula has molested so many people, including men crying for their wives, everything. I'm sorry. Don't try me that, because I'm very upset.
I did not say anything.
Yes.
You said it.
Let's go. If I were Moses, Wetangula's lawyer, this case will not manage me. I can lose the citizenship, but we can go ahead, man. Paka tumalizane huko international court. Unipa pesa za nini? Tulifanya nini? We did. This is an illegal matter. Should not be brought to Kenyans. Why didn't this man go to Saudi Arabia to buy to the embassy? We don't have embassy. Jamen, we are, look here. Look. It's just keeping good relationship. That Wetangula has spoiled the relationship of Kenya, and that there are over 50,000 Kenyans in the United Arab Emirates earning a living and bringing money back to this country. That we can keep quiet. Lakini Sheikh kuja pole pole, because we can also pole pole you. You know, hey, wait. If that Wetangula hire me as a PR man and bring that 400 million to me, a bit of it.
You want a stake in that?
No, a bit as a lawyer. You know what Wetangula said yesterday?
He's a lawyer.
He was giving legal advice.
Legal advice. That's expensive legal advice.
Yes. They were seeking interpretation of the Kenyan law.
What are we doing with our lives? We should go study the law. That is where the money is.
Study law when you are stealing is not very good.
True. You're supposed to be a defender of the law.
Moses should have hired a good lawyer. That's it. But this ping pong left and right, and now you have Ruto coming in also to say,
I don't understand the agitation.
Deputy president of a country throwing insults at Raila Odinga, sijui anaiba gold yake. Sasa watu they have also now flown to Italy to bring tapes of the what is it called? Emerald and
Kimerol and Arrow.
Yes,
dams.
He said 70 billion only. Now
said 21 billion.
Yes, the tapes are coming also. So that you know when you tackle an action, some people go into action.
And I think today is
so he better. I don't know whether we can cross over to his press conference, whether he's addressing the water problem.
Not yet.
Yes,
they're supposed to be. I think the World Bank is giving money to sort
another dam.
Are you worried that he's part of that?
Yes.
Why would that be?
I'm very worried. You want my opinion?
Yes, please.
let's finish with some other things.
Okay, but still on the gold, for those who maybe may not have the information, it is on the Standard, and I think there's a detailed information. There were reports that the opposition leader Raila Odinga, together with President Uhuru Kenyatta, had met with the sheikh, and that is earlier in April, after the president were coming from the China infrastructure forum, the one that passed by Dubai, and the guy asked for a meeting, I think, because he was worried. He was worried, okay, now he had an opportunity to talk to the president.
He asked for the meeting. Why didn't he ask the president first?
So actually, he actually spoke with the president.
It is, let me tell you, I've just told you to close this subject, is this man is because we are protecting the Kenyans who are in United Arab Emirates. The matter is being handled highly, and that's it, with the foreign affairs and themselves. But walaya Mungu huyu,
he's on the wrong.
Walaya Mungu, if I were me Matanga, if I were me, this one we could go to the Old Bailey in London. We finish it there. Mutu asicheze na mutu hapa. Tunamaliza huko Old Bailey. Huko London. Ulikuja kununua bitu biashara ya magendo. Tena unapiga kelele kwa sisi. You have already broken Kenyan law. You've broken Kenyan law. Which country is this where you say you come with your jets and flying in to destroy the integrity of Africa? Are we slaves anymore? Are we being enslaved because of money? Don't tell me. I will say so many things. I don't want to say them. I'm not a diplomat. I'm an activist for Africa, defending Africa. You want rules in your place. You tell us how to eat, how to engage, how to love in your country. You come to our countries flying and take what you want. Rubbish. That's stupid. You can't come to our countries without discipline. If President Uhuru gave me a ministry of anybody to deal with this, some of these guys will not enter this airport.
Foreign affairs.
One day.
Or immigration, yes.
I told you one day some people, you need to wear a suit to come to my country. Some of these are homeless. You know the Bazungu that torture you here are homeless. They come here in the Intercontinental Hotel where they carry the briefcase. You find all these girls with folders that you are discussing what? These are homeless people back at home. And you allow them that integrity. You can't be doing good rule. You can't put rules in your country that stop people even to drink a beer from a veranda. Then you come and break rules in other people's countries. Africa should stand up, Jamen. Nyenye pata watu like a General Yahaya. These are the Africans we want. Yahaya will tell you come and he throws you in the river Banjo.
Jame.
Hey, Jame. Hata kama uko prince we are wapi.
All right, so that is a developing story, and we'll keep you updated as we continue to.
It is dividing Kenya. This thing is bringing problems to us. Have you seen?
It should not even be a problem. I think the politicians are the ones who are running.
Of course, Ruto was from Bungoma. Ruto's message to Raila is very dangerous.
And why do you think he's in Bungoma right now?
We have somebody from Bungoma whom we could have brought. He had several reports from Bungoma. I think it's in the Bungoma because
wherever he goes, he seems to be quoting, people who
Bungoma people are easily. Bungoma people vote with their hearts, not with the stomachs.
Okay.
Can I tell you why? You can sing whatever you are singing there, but once Raila passes there for 2 days. Or 3 days, they will give Raila the vote.
And they give Baba the vote. All right. So
yeah, the local leaders.
But was the visit suspicious? And Boni Halwale has become the new kid in the block.
Anybody touching Boni Halwale is leprosy.
He's the new kid.
No, let me tell you,
No.
Bone Harwale in Kenyan politics is equated to Kofi Annan in international scene. Every party Bone Harwale goes bleeds. Just as does Kofi Annan bleeds. Everywhere Kofi Annan stepped, he left blood until he went to the grave without us knowing what killed him. Yeah, Kofi Annan's death was not, we don't know what killed him. Nobody knows up to today. Do you know? Do you know?
What killed Kofi Annan?
Yes.
I'm not his doctor. I'm sure.
You don't know? So Harwale is like Kofi Annan. If he touches your party, I don't know which Jubilee is accepting Harwale. Harwale was insulting us, Jubilee. This is where Ruto goes wrong.
But that is politics.
No. Where Harwale was insulting the president from morning up to evening. You see? And that it is being brought by one wing of Jubilee.
The rest will accept him.
Yeah, the president has not accepted. Is the party leader has not accepted Mr. Harwale to give him a new shirt. So you are causing chaos in everywhere. Because now Harwale is being brought in to be told you are also handshake.
Oh, it's the handshake.
Someone is trying to balance the Kenyan handshake.
It is the handshake train.
Yes, they bring us to the issue.
All right.
Top of the hour, we shall take 20 minutes on Kenya Judiciary and the handshake.
Yes, we'll look at...
is it shaking or shakes?
Fighting against corruption in the judiciary.
Yes.
And also focus on the handshake. So this handshake has become a point where people use to, not really for the good of this country.
It is. I want to reiterate that without Raila Amolo Odinga and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta setting up and shaking hands, there would be no Kenya today. After elections, Kenya was going on a very terrible path. The president, in his wisdom, took a step forward and shook hands with Raila. The purpose is to stop the country going into a divided. People had petitioned even to get a republic out of this country. So this all went and stopped. Some people had wanted to form national resistance movements to fight President Uhuru Kenyatta. This all stopped. So the handshake is very crucial, very important in the development of this country. If we want to break it, then we shall be creating a very serious condition that will lead us to a state of apathy. It will lead us to chaos. Let's not go that route. Let's maintain the handshake.
And the politics that are surrounding the handshake right now, we know, I don't know the report, the peace accord, they're still doing their, collecting views from Kenya. And when is the report supposed to be out, the building of bridges report? And has it taken too much time?
You see, can I tell you one thing? One of the tragedies of Africa is stealing people's ideas and don't consulting them. Chinawa Achebe, whichever grave he is in now, nobody thanks him for writing the book, Things Fall Apart. Obierika, wherever he is, nobody thanks Obierika for having given Okonkwo the best advice, that perhaps you have been away for too long. The Umofia clan has changed. Things have fallen apart. The handshake is a redemption strategy. A redemption strategy includes the following. Anybody who has studied conflict resolution and any student watching me this morning will know it includes reconciliation, accountability. Are we together? Mm-hmm. Reconciliation, accountability, forgiveness, truth-telling, reparations, and restitution. That composes a serious, it composes a serious redemption strategy, which we call a healing strategy. Kenya from 1992 has been heaping hatred from Moi government throughout Kibaki government exploded in 2007, 2008, 2013, 2017, it came back. That was hate, accumulated, accrued, hatred that has been accruing all the years. So Kenya needed a stop over gap measure, gap measure that will stop it from hurtling towards destruction. What Kenyatta did was one of the most fundamental principles of political science. To restitute unity, to bring unity, forgiveness, to bring about reconciliation, truth-telling, accountability, restitution, reparations. That's why you see another guy in which I'm sending the video to production to bring. Another guy has now gone on air and told us there is a problem. In where? In the Rift Valley. And he has petitioned the International Criminal Court.
There's a problem in the Rift Valley.
Yes.
I saw on the news yesterday some people were killed in Molo. Does it have to do anything with
I don't know, but he has now, you listen to the tape, it is coming. So when we don't have reconciliation, forgiveness, reparations, restitution, what do you have next? Truth, accountability. There are people who see their houses as they drive towards Malaba, but they don't sleep in them.
That's true.
So you tell me, what do you call that? Is that reconciliation?
No.
Have we reconciled?
No.
You used to stay in a house and you see smoke. And you are not staying there. Your wife and you are in a boys' quarters in Nairobi. And the people are urinating on you every morning. Sorry to use that language, but that's African. Urine is not bad. Urine is a process. Every morning.
So these are people who are still waiting to see justice.
Exactly. And that's why the President Uhuru Kenyatta said let there be a team of few experts to explore ways of how to heal this country permanently forever. But we have not understood him. We have instead jumped to politics of 2022. How will you do 2022 when people still see their houses with smoke coming out? They have not happened. It will take 2 or 3, 4 politicians to drum that type of support and you will not have a vote. Believe me or not. I'm saying it now, record it.
So the people who are opposed to this, and you've seen their section of Kenyans who don't even have faith in the Building of Bridges initiative, and they've made it their business to really oppose this, something that I think has done this country more good. We don't know if the handshake never happened. We really don't know where the country will be at this point in time. So the people who are really opposed to this initiative, what do they stand to benefit when this country is ungovernable, as it was beginning to be?
People don't want it to be governable. You think so? You think they want it governable? They want it disorderly so that they can continue to loot. The looting spree has been cut down, so people have no work to do. Instead, they are there to spread gossip and arrange rallies. We are in an election in Africa.
That is what brought up the rallies now.
Yes. If you come to Kenya for the first time.
After the handshake is when the church services began?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm not alleging anything. I'm just...
The church services,
yes.
We have to arrange them. Mm-hmm. These church services have 3 methods. There is getting money also. You get the point? Every Friday, there is a brown envelope.
From where?
Somewhere. On Arambe Avenue.
The president's office?
No, Arambe Avenue.
Okay.
Offices are there. I don't know which office.
Government offices are...
I don't know, but I've just given you a clue.
Several ministries are situated.
Just as I've given you a clue that the Sheikh dispatched several people, they are in all these hotels. When you go to the gym...
They're looking for a triangular.
Yes, when you go to the sauna of these big hotels, you find the men there, sauna, you sleep, you want to rest a bit. They ask you, what do you do in Kenya? We hear everybody is calling you doctor Matanga. What do you do? Then he explains to you he comes from the royal services of UAA. So what do you do with such a man?
You look for business opportunities, no?
He's not looking for business opportunity.
You run.
You can tell from his looks.
Yes.
He's an inquisitive mind trying to piece up pieces. So what do you do? That's how that's how people got this thing. The tape came from where?
Apparently, they played the tape to the president in Dubai.
Yeah, so
the president and Raila apparently the whistleblowers in all this.
So what did we get? What mistake did I make? If it was played in Dubai, did I make any mistake? Maybe one agent from Dubai.
It was recording the
No, the agents are here.
Oh, the agent.
Are you not hearing it?
I'm following.
This guy, the Sheikh, is even on a plane. I've sent you a plane picture there. He's about to arrive. He's here. He's crying over this 400 million. An Arab can stop on anything, but he's $1. That's Maurudish.
That is $400 million US, which amounts to a couple of billions.
Yes. Wanataka pesa $1.2 million cash, 0.25, which is 400 million.
Because the whole deal was about 30 billion.
Yes.
Okay.
If you don't give them their money.
Start now. And we have said this a group of Kinakutunyi, Kinakamanda, OP, Nancy Gitau, and others. Ambaye nimeandika barua, I'm posting this letter to ICC. Waweze kujua who is bringing the decision.
Let's hear the tape from one of the MPs.
It's ready.
If it is ready.
I think that's still...
Start now. And we have said this a group of Kinakutunyi, Kinakamanda, OP, Nancy Gitau, and others. Ambaye nimeandika barua, I'm posting this letter to ICC. Waweze kujua who is bringing the division in Kenya. We will not like to go where we were, 2007, 2008. We will not like to go there. But already, ICC, this is a signal of a certain people. And we know who are doing all these things. And also I'm wondering, Although I cannot question, I don't know how the ICC, they are doing their work, but now we have people already they can put in the list. And follow them. Where are they getting this money? Watu wakipeleka pesa kwa kanisa yao ya kudivide Kenya na kupiganisha Kenya na kuincite. And also I'm asking the some of the churches, surely mnajua watu wale wamekuwa wakikuja kanisa all the time, all years wakiwasaidia. That the president did not start now. Hata wakati alikuwa university alikuwa student leader of preaching the full gospel yeye mwenyewe, lakini sasa imekuja watu wengine wanaitwa kieleweke, sijui kieleweke, akieleweki. Why are you church, are you giving them chance and you know they are coming to abuse? Can you stand, you the church, when somebody is abusing the deputy president? The deputy president went through 2013.
There's a point that the guy raised about church. What is wrong with the church in Kenya?
The church in Kenya, are there churches in Kenya apart from Anglican Church and Catholic?
Yes, my church.
Which one?
Baptist Church. We do not, even if you come there and you're the head of state, you will not say hello to people. You'll just wave and sit down. You'll not be given the
Baptist
microphone.
Church. That's very good.
You'll just wave and sit down.
The Baptist Church.
Yes.
The one near Ngongo Road?
I go in Westlands.
The big one.
The Ngong Road is a big one. But anyway, what is wrong with these other churches?
So you're a Baptist?
I am a Baptist.
Okay, you add more credentials. So let's move on.
Are you having a checklist?
Checklist, yes.
For what?
I have several checklists, Miriam, for you. Checklists. You passed the checklist a long time ago, so you don't need to have any more checklists. So the Anglican Church and the Catholic plus the Baptist are not accepting any money from them, and from you.
They don't give.
Take back your money. Our brother from Nigeria, that comment, possible you see that comment is very rude, but I will not quarrel with you because I am not part of that low grade to be actually bribed by Buhari. Buhari will never reach me.
But possible you see must have joined us very late because I read some news about Biafra in the morning.
We did something about Biafra just now.
Nnamdi Kanu came out to say that
we have done everything for Biafra for free.
Yes.
We have never asked for a penny from anywhere, and nobody can bribe us. So to show you, prepare yourself this afternoon at 3 p.m. on the People's Court. We shall deal with Biafra, Nigeria. Killings. I have human rights lawyers on the ground. The type of killings that are taking shape in Biafra are worrying, and Africa is quiet. So we shall deal with Nigeria, and that is the best we shall do.
All right, possible you see, or I can't say your name properly. I don't know how you pronounce it, but hey, hold your horses. So 3 p.m. But also we had some news on Biafra in the morning. Nnamdi Kanu came out to declare that anyone who refuses the sit down that is supposed to happen on the 30th of May deserves to be stoned to death. That is very radical.
They are. they are killing people. Muhammad Buhari is a killer. Everybody knows he kills. He's killing people quietly, and Africa is not talking.
So back to our guy there. So he thinks ISIS is the best solution for Kenyans' problems.
I don't think that ICC can be the best solution. And for these people, I told them, close this envelope of work. You know, you see now, this one is going there to resurrect the chief prosecutor who had kept quiet.
Who will be happy.
And the chief prosecutor will say, aha.
You've come back again.
More people, to see, I told you that Kenya's situation will come back to us. So this type of talk.
It's careless.
Is careless talk.
Has he tried the Kenyan judicial system and felt like something was not being done?
Which judicial system? Of Maraga?
The one led by CJ Maraga.
No.
He gave a very wonderful testimony over the weekend to the students somewhere in school.
About drink?
Yes.
So he's a drunkard?
No, he's recovered.
Recovered drunk?
He said he wasted 20 years of his youth in alcoholism, but he's well now. He got a hold of himself and he went back to do his master's after 5 years.
David is not a bad guy, but David is incompetent. Please.
Incompetent in terms of leading the judiciary.
Judiciary. But he's not a bad guy. I don't think he has any scandal of bribery or shuji money. The scandal that is going to kill him is incompetence.
There's a scandal.
Yeah. Because if you are a chief justice and you don't know what is taking place in your court, then you are incompetent. Yeah.
Okay. So the ICC talks is something that should be discouraged, I guess.
So I don't know, authorities should come up and ask what Ngunjiri Kimani
meant by that.
Meant and what he wants to do.
But I saw he was really angered that some people come out to insult the vice president. He's angered with that.
But the vice president, the deputy president is also insulting them. So it's a tit for tat match.
It's politics.
Someone is matching word by word. So this is going to get what we call a very messy end. It will get noisy, messy and noisy. Is it noisy and messy?
Both.
Noisy and messy. Wetangula said. But have you not seen one thing that Wetangula said? I take this golden opportunity. Every speech. I went back through all his speeches. And I found a golden speech, golden opportunity, like over 300 times. Hey, my God.
So he's been looking for a golden opportunity.
Yes. Okay.
All right. So we move on to, the fighting against corruption in Kenya. And of course, the focus on the handshake. And
we have finished the handshake.
We finished the handshake, yes.
The corruption in the judiciary. It must be fought. And we continue to expose the bad judges. The JSC is now reconstituted properly. It can take its level to an end. That's it. We want to thank you.
All right. So, yes, do we come to our diaspora dispatches topic of the day today?
Take a break.
All right. But before then, I would like for us to just take a very short break. And we'll come back. We'll look at...
Let's have a short...
yes.
Pay some bill and advertise our show. Our shows.
Yes. We pay some bills.
We don't have any advert yet.
Yes.
But there's that advert of SCBC. That advert, smaller one, which brings SBC to us. That should come.
All right, so we will come back after that.
Please. Daniel Okimani says golden speech, golden opportunity, golden business.
Golden speech, golden opportunity. Indeed, golden business. Yeah, if it's not marred in scandal, then it's okay. But if it's, the shake is on
I don't know whether Johnny Clark is which side. Are you on the side of Tanga group or which side, or Kedeweke?
No, John Clark has never been in any side. I think he when he wants to know something, he wants to know something, whether it's touches on the government or the opposition or Kieleweke or Tanga.
Let's take a break, I think.
All right,
yes.
We'll be back.
It is ridiculous and it is against the laws of nature that we can have somebody sitting pretty who takes home more money than the credible entrepreneur who is doing actual production of goods and services.
We always say it as it is.
It is only in this country that when a thief is arrested, you hear elders from their tribe saying, he is our son and he is our thief.
If you are deviant
Yes.
and I call you leader,
Yes.
probably you are already a leader, but you are leading in the wrong direction.
We want to see the role of the youth
Yeah.
in the security,
Yes.
governance,
Yes.
and development.
The youth that I meet and work with here, you know, we call them the millennials and X's and Y's, this and that. They don't necessarily want to live like their fathers and grandfathers, do business like their fathers and grandfathers. They're more independent, they're better educated, and they're the ones that are making everything move in this region.
We look at the issues, we talk about issues that impact people's lives in Africa.
The African peoples themselves continue to cheer bad leaders, and because they cheer them on, they continue to be misled.
Let me ask you, doctor, would you rather be somebody who does not enjoy so much freedom but you are rich?
Yes.
Or you'd rather be poor who you are actually imprisoned by the poverty itself?
My goal is not to come here and say, I want the majority ownership, I want to own this, I want to own that, I want to do this. My goal is we all make money and we're all happy, and I help build a big business here.
Punchline is for Africa, with Africa, from Africa.
You know, when one is asked to talk about leadership in Africa, one's mind wanders in many directions, because in the recent past, the continent of Africa has been the subject of scrutiny from many quarters. There are those who are Afro-pessimists and take the view that Africa will never realize our potential. There are those Afro-optimists who take the view that the jury is still out on the success or otherwise of the continent of Africa. I am an Afro-optimist. I take the view that this continent has had a glorious past, and that this continent has had her trials and tribulations, but her better days are in the future. There are those who, when talking about Africa, are in the habit of dealing with Africa as if it were one monolithic block. They do not recognize that the beauty of Africa is in her diversity. And indeed, when you care to undertake a geographical survey of Africa, you will be amazed at what the west of Africa offers, what the center of Africa offers, what the south of Africa offers, what the Horn of Africa offers, and what the north of Africa offers. That is the continent that we are talking about today. And we are talking about her because she continues in many ways to punch below her weight. And many are the commentators who take the view that the reason why she continues to punch below her weight is because the men and women who have had the privilege and honor to serve her in different political capacities or leadership capacities have not served her well. There may be merit in that assessment, but those who are quick to judge, those whose only claim to fame is that they are professional fault finders, must ask many questions before they judge and condemn Africa unfairly. This continent, and I remember, and if we are to judge this continent fairly, we must go back to the past.
and look to the past and ask about this continent, and there are many who have written about this continent. How many of you here will forget the great writings of Senegal's Ante-Cheikh Diop, who has documented in many ways the glorious past of the continent of Africa, the great kingdoms in Africa. When Europe was still in the caves, Africans were building monuments. If they were not building them in the Ashanti Empire, they were building them in Monomotapa here in Zimbabwe. And there is a sense in which all those have been consigned to the Museum of History. And those who look at Africa see Africa as a scar on the conscience of humanity, not remembering that they were themselves co-authors of Africa's misfortunes. We are the only continent and the only people in the world who have been commodified. How many of you will remember that agrarian Europe had to commodify Africa in order to realize our level of development? At one time in those early days, we will remember, even as we talk about leadership, that half of the population of this continent was taken away. If they were not taken away from Ghana, which they then christened Gold Coast, they were taken away from Angola. If they were not taken away from Angola, they were taken away from Mozambique. If they were not taken from Mozambique, they were taken from Senegal. If the Arabs were not taking us, the Europeans were taking us. If the Europeans in their different tribes were not conquering us, they were stealing from us. Those are the reasons to judge the African continent. One must be historically conscious. The oldest African country after we regained our independence from greater chief. And the question that we must ask ourselves, why is it that this continent finds ourselves in that space? If it is not Europe summoning us, it is the United States of America summoning us. Everybody is in the business of summoning us. One may ask, what has this to do with leadership? You know, I listened to the Chinese president speaking in eloquent Mandarin, saying how the relationship between Africa and China is a mutually beneficial relationship. He spoke about Africa as if it was one country. He did not remind himself, in my mind, that there are 55 countries in Africa, or 50, mentioning the Gambia, and a few others, and Sao Tome and Principe, that they were welcomed back to the world because they had renounced their relationship with Taiwan. And they have now recognized the one China policy. Do I say this because there is anything wrong with China? No. I'm saying this because the Chinese are providing leadership for their people. They know exactly what they want for their people, and they are doing exactly what they want for their people for the benefit of their people. The question that I'm posing to us, do we know what we want for our people? Are we doing what we need for our people? And the answer is, I doubt. Why do I doubt? I doubt because at the end of the entire enterprise, the Chinese president said that he had given, or his government had given, 60 billion United States dollars to 54 African countries. Notionally, therefore, each country would be entitled to no more than 1.5 billion. Half of the presidents who are present in China, each one of them, half of them, can produce 1.5 billion. Sportsmen in Europe and America, including boxers, can earn $1 billion in a single bout. And we are here celebrating and singing the praises of China.
because they gave us 60 billion. Once again, it is a statement of the ability to recognize what leadership is all about. I'm submitting to us that when we interact with people like the Chinese, there is something to learn from them. We may condemn them at fora such as this, but there is wisdom in asking ourselves, how is it that this country, which about 30 years ago could not feed half our population, has in 30 years during our lifetime succeeded in pulling up nearly 800 million people out of poverty? How is it that every road that is now being built in Africa, whether the road is in Benin or in Nairobi, Kenya, or in Johannesburg, South Africa, or in Kigali, in Rwanda, or the Democratic Republic of Congo, there is a Chinese firm whose name I cannot pronounce as the contractor for that firm? How is it? How is it that China, which about 30 years ago did not produce a mobile phone, today out of every 10 mobile phones, we are using 6 which are from China? If it is not Techno, it is some other phone. If we are not inviting Jack Ma, we are inviting another Chinese, because we have seen that they have the ability to organize their affairs. Some of us, particularly those of us who are in the middle class, our pride is that our child is learning Mandarin as a second language, not isiZulu, Mandarin. I fear, Bishop, that in the next few years, when they bring their children for baptism, and you ask them, how do you name this child? They'll say, Deng Xiaoping Simfiwe. I'm still talking about leadership. We have seen what leadership can do. Leadership has catapulted China to another completely different orbit. We have seen that leadership has catapulted South Korea to a different orbit. We have seen that leadership has catapulted Vietnam, which was bombed to the ground in 1975. Vietnam now produces more coffee than all African countries combined. What have they done? The men and women who have been given the opportunity to serve those countries long recognize that leadership is about service. And I can't agree more with the Honorable Minister who spoke before me and the good Dr. Aaron who spoke before me, that the true essence of leadership is self-discovery and self-esteem. You know, where I come from in my tribe, and I know in many African communities, when you do something very well, they say, you have done it like a white man. When you arrive on time, they say, he has arrived like a white man. When you speak well, they say, you spoke like a white man. When you dress well, you dress like a white man. When you go to a beautiful place in Africa, you say, it does not look like Africa, as if Africans are incapable of doing the right things. And I'm telling us that until the day that we exercise the ghost of low self-esteem, Africa is going nowhere. I'm submitting to us that history has demonstrated times without number that personal conquest is the beginning of true leadership. If you don't conquer yourself, you are going nowhere. And I'm submitting to us that Africa must now recognize that whatever institutions you have, until and unless it is populated by men and women who have ideals, those institutions will collapse, never to be put together again. So going forward, ladies and gentlemen, I hold the view that a conference such as this, that brings together men and women who recognize that Africa should occupy her pride of place amongst the Committee of Nations, must be a conference at which we speak to each other honestly. I think we Africans have been too kind to each other for too long. The time has come that we must annoy each other. It is only when we have annoyed you sufficiently that we can canalize that anger, and that anger can then be used to move mountains. And my joy is that Africa is not sleeping. My joy is that Africans are now beginning to wake up to the reality that we have not only the intellectual wherewithal, but that we have the resources to make our countries grow and grow in the proper direction. You know, not so long ago, and not so long ago in this case means about 50 years ago, I read and listened to the leaders of the early days. If you listen to any one of those leaders, the clarity with which they were able to identify the problems of Africa and the clarity with which they were able to prescribe the medicine that could solve the problems of Africa was as titillating as it was as astounding. You know, I listen to the more casual works and I read the casual works of a young leader in the 1980s, such as Thomas Sankara. You know, Thomas Sankara is a young individual whose claim to formal education was not very much. He did not hold any PhD. He was an army officer. He overthrows the government of Upper Volta, and he goes into government and poses the question, why are we called Upper Volta? And he says the first thing that we must do is to change the name of this country so that it becomes Burkina Faso, the land of the upright man, and that the people of this country must be called the Burkinabe, the upright people. And he says we have been suffering with hunger and food shortages for too long. We have depended on France for too long. We can no longer be children and toddlers in our adulthood. We cannot be in economic and political diapers for too long. And he begins to release the country. And no sooner has he succeeded in doing this than the erstwhile colonial power says that this is a bad example. And they eliminate him. And not only Thomas Sankara. I remember the man for whom I am named in 1961, Patrice Emery Lumumba, only aged 36, and he recognizes, and on that day of independence, not being scheduled to speak, he speaks nevertheless, and he says how happy he is that the history of the Congolese will be written by the Congolese, and they take him away. I listened to Ghana's Kwame Nkrumah saying that Africa cannot be free unless the whole of it is free. I look at the casual works of Bantu Stephen Biko. I listen to the casual works of Samora Moises Machel. I read the casual works of Modibo Keita in Mali. I look at the works of Agostino Neto, the works of Africans who are clear. And those of you who are alive, then you could see that the indices of development in Africa were moving up north. If it was not infant mortality that was beginning to be lowered, it was maternal mortality and crude death rates. Africa was moving. But remember that Charles Darwin is still right. In this jungle that we call the world is survival of the fittest and the dying of the least suitable. When we begin to rise as a people, there are those whose only claim to success is to put us down, to tell us, not in so many words, that we are children of a lesser God. It is our duty to tell them that we are not. And that is why we have forums such as this. You know, there are those who may say, and I'm one of them, that perhaps in Africa we hold too many seminars, that we hold too many conferences, that we hold too many colloquia. But I hold the view that these things must be repeated time and time again, so that if they are clear, they become even clearer. Is it not true that gold must be in the fire and the furnace before it is refined? Is it not true that Africa has men and women, the 1.2 billion of us, that we have the ability to catapult this continent to a higher level? You know, there was a time that Africa deluded herself, that a leader was one in the nature of Moses, communing directly with God, and that this leader had a rod and staff, and that he would part the Red Sea of disease, and disease would disappear by a pronouncement of abracadabra. That this leader would call and summon manna from heaven, and manna would fall. No, that is not leadership. Leadership is all of us, each one of us, in our little villages. The great American Ralph Waldo Emerson was right when he said, when we want the world to be clean, don't complain about the dirt in the world. Sweep your front yard and let your neighbor sweep their front yard. And lo and behold, when we have all swept, the world will be clean. I'm now on a spiritual dimension. Mother Teresa was also right when she said, when you go into a room and you find that there is darkness, don't complain about the darkness. Take a candle, light your candle, let your neighbor light a candle, and light will conquer the darkness. You know, I've been asked to give a concluding keynote address, not to preach and pontificate. So I must now move to conclude. And in my conclusion, warning you as I do, that having sat next to a politician, when I say conclude, that is the beginning of the second phase of my speech. But let me conclude by saying the following things. That this continent is now at crossroads. And when you are at crossroads, it means that you are faced with two roads. And you've got to make a conscious decision which is the road to take. And I think Africa made this decision. In the year 2013, the African leaders, whether you like them or not, that is another debate. You elected them, or they happen to be the leaders, and therefore they are the political leaders. And it is important to make a distinction between leadership in its broad sense and political leadership. Political leadership is the most visible leadership and the most effective in terms of marshalling all our resources and ensuring that they are coordinated in a manner that benefits us all. That is why political leadership is at the very heart of human development. The politicians sat in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia and came up with Agenda 2063. You know, Agenda 2063 says many things, but this is how I imagine Africa Agenda 2063. That in the year 2063, South Africa will have a GDP of 3 trillion United States dollars. And at that time, we shall not be measuring our GDP in dollar terms. We shall be measuring our GDP in Afro terms. Our currency will be called Afro. And the Afro will be the strongest currency in the world. And the GDP of South Africa will be 3 trillion. That the per capita income of South Africa will be 30,000 Afro. And that all our children will go and gain education from primary to university, the cost being underwritten by our taxes. That all our minerals will have a value addition. That we shall no longer be importing complete products from China. There will be a mobile phone. Namibia will be manufacturing a mobile phone. And that 1 million Africans will be using that mobile phone. That phone will be called Mobi Africa. And Namibia will not stop there. I look to that day, Botswana will no longer be selling any cows to Europe. Those cows and the meat from Botswana will be consumed in the continent of Africa, and Lesotho will not be left behind. And Eswatini will also be a Shangri-La where we will go for tourism, and it will not stop there. Mozambique will have some of the biggest ports in Africa, and Tanzania will be there, and Malawi will be there, and Zambia will be there, and Angola will be there, and Equatorial Guinea will have new leaders, and Equatorial Guinea will be the equivalent of the Silicon Valley. In 2063, the Democratic Republic of Congo will no longer have any conflicts. We'll have power being generated from the Inga Dam. And I can assure you that at that time, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, and South Sudan, and Ethiopia, and Eritrea, and Somali, and Djibouti, there'll be a road connecting all these countries. And it will not stop there. It will go on to Central African Republic. It will go on to Cameroon, and Gabon, and Benin, and Togo, and Sierra Leone, and Liberia, and the Gambia, and Mali, and Mauritania, and all these countries, and Sao Tome, and Principe, and the Seychelles, and Mauritius, because there'll be leaders at that time. You know, in 1978, when I was reading Chinua Achebe's book, Things Fall Apart, the elders asked the question, and where are the young suckers that will grow when the old banana dies? Today I want to submit to you that where we sat, I saw old bananas. But when I look at this side, I see the young suckers that are growing when the old banana dies. And the truth of leadership, as I conclude, true leadership, Julius Kambarage Nyerere was right. If you are a true leader, you are not successful unless your successor succeeds. And this is the message that we must send to all African leaders. The other thing that we must tell our leaders, and we who are leaders wherever we are, is that leadership is a relay marathon race, and that leadership is intergenerational. You are not a leader unless you have grown leaders. And you are not a leader unless you are a servant. Jesus of Nazareth was right. He amongst you who wants to lead, he must be a servant. Our Africans of old were right that our chiefs were not rulers over us, but custodians. So, my friend Masiza, you have brought us to a good thing. For those of you who are present in this assembly, go out now into the world. Go out into the world knowing and recognizing that Africa will be built village by village. Go out into the world to know that you are the drop that will make the ocean overflow. Go out into the world recognizing what the Chinese long recognized, that the greatness of the ocean is because the ocean does not reject any river. So go out there and take the knowledge that is necessary. So go out into the world recognizing that Africa will fail or succeed on leadership, and leadership means servanthood. So go out there. The world has seen too many comedians. The world now wants actors who will serve. Go out and be blessed.
Way back in 1998, the late Secretary General of the United Nations, by name Kofi Annan, thought of an idea, brought an idea of saying the only way to bring world order, where crimes committed that are not punishable in local courts, local countries, regional courts, could be taken to an international crimes court. The Rome Statute and Rome Treaty of 1998 July was an offspring of already cooked DSGE intelligence system mechanism to keep Africa under check. Up to date, the French government pays 70% of the salaries of the International Criminal Court, from the porter to the judge, to the prosecutor, and the rest of the other people. This was a project of Kofi Annan and the Kofi Annan Foundation, followed by George Soros as an accomplice of Kofi Annan, brought in by Luis Moreno Campo and the entire system of the West, some countries in the West, to keep check on African countries that did not agree with the policies of the French and to their policies of Western culture. The International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor Luis Moreno Campo agreed in all this that yes, He has been picking money, extra monies, and we followed the story together with my group in France, powerful investigators in France who worked together with me, and we found out that, truly speaking, Luis Moreno Campo, Fernandez Gomedi, the former judge, the president of the International Criminal Court, laundered the money, some coming from American banks themselves. This evidence was put in the ICC. In the case of Bashir versus the chief prosecutor, I filed an application which I still have and which I'm going to publicize again so that people can know that I was right. I've been vindicated because the American friends now have found that my credibility is real, that I was right when I stood up to say this court is corrupt. This court launders money, $17 million of United States money, laundered through Bahamas, through New York banks, back to Ocampo's personal assistant, by then called Fernandez Gomedi Silvia, who later on rose to the ranks of becoming the president of International Criminal Court. It has taken us time, energy, effort, resources to investigate the corruption scandal that have rocked the International Criminal Court. Why should African countries continue to be in the ICC? Yet even superpowers like America are saying no, we have enough courts to try our own people. Viewers, it has taken Americans over 20 years to listen to our voices when we told Rainberger in Nairobi that this court is a corrupt court.
Today, on the eve of September the 11th, I want to deliver a clear and unambiguous message on behalf of the President of the United States. The United States will use any means necessary to protect our citizens and those of our allies from unjust prosecution by this illegitimate court. We will not cooperate with the ICC. We will provide no assistance to the ICC, and we certainly will not join the ICC. We will let the ICC die on its own. After all, for all intents and purposes, the ICC is already dead to us.
A case of the Kenyan people. These cases in Kenya, the chief prosecutor called Fatou Bensouda put serious statements at the end of the cases, discharge and termination. In legal language, these cases pose a very serious threat in the future. What the people of Kenya can do, and they should do, is today to wrap up the work envelope. Because until this envelope is sealed, thrown in Indian Ocean, the chief prosecutor in the future will come and look for that envelope, use it to incriminate people again. It brings me back to the situation. America is sealing its journey out of the ICC. Why do you wait? Why don't you take this opportunity to seal your journeys out of the ICC? America is quitting, warning that it cannot no longer be a party to such an obnoxious court, a court that has no powers, that talks from this side and vomits from the other side, a court that cuts and pastes evidence, a court that buys witnesses, a court that incites incentives, gives incentives to witnesses of a passport and a relocation, then you tell lies about people. A court that sentences you as per the words there. Why should you leave a country that has a jury that checks on what the judges would do, the excesses of judges, and go to a country, a court that has no jury? Time has come for Africa to think. Do we need this court? Does Africa need this court?